Let's bring in retired Navy Captain Brent Sadler now. He's also a former Pentagon official and senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Brent, great to see you.
Yeah, great to see you as well, and Merry Christmas.
It is such a relief, and it's just long overdue for a president to actually come down hard on Venezuela and its leader, Nicolás Maduro. What do you make, first of all, of what Trump has done so far regarding trying to stop this narco trafficking crisis that we've seen now for decades, and nobody's ever done anything about it until now?
Yeah, I mean, for historical context, I mean, we've been fighting this war against the narco cartels that span more than any one country. It's bigger than Venezuela since the late 80s. But really, only in the last 6 months or so, by ratcheting up the pressure and actually attacking these drug smuggling boats and actually interdicting the illicit trade that's coming out of Venezuela, has President Trump, for the first time in recent memory, actually gone to the heart of the issue. And that's the business model, the money-making capacity of these illegal, illicit cartels that rely on regimes like Maduro's to provide them a protection racket to operate and move their poison into the United States, kill Americans. And it's also become a springboard for the Chinese, the Russians, and of course, terrorist groups like the IRGC out of Iran and Hezbollah as well.
Yeah, and this is a situation where Democrats have been calling this inappropriate and calling it murder. The president calls it terrorism. And when there are terrorists that are trying to harm Americans in the form of fentanyl and the millions of deaths that we've seen in this country due to these drugs that are being illegally smuggled into this country, why would we not want to protect Americans? Where do you see this moving forward in the new year? Do you believe Democrats will ever get on board with the fact that what we are doing is just protecting Americans? That is the bottom line. That is the reason for all of this.
Well, that's sort of a partisan hyperbole. Really does not consider Americans' best interest, and certainly not our physical security of American citizens on the streets here in the United States. It's purely for political posturing, and it needs to stop. This is an issue of national security. It's an issue of physical security of far too many Americans and families that have been hurt and damaged by the narcotics trafficking. But it's also one of grave national security issue. You know, Congressman Adam Smith, his comments, I think, were off base and missing the mark. For far too long, the United States government has ignored the national security threat brewing south of our border. The Chinese have the largest embassy that does more than just stamp visas in Bahamas, and they have a listening base in Cuba. And the Russians have been training up other countries beyond Venezuela in advanced weapons. This is not something that we should have allowed to occur with at least somewhat of a diplomatic and a much more a forceful response years ago. So it's unfortunate that it has to be this aggressive. But this is a result of decades of neglect, and it's good to see President Trump taking the fight to our enemies and basically allowing the people in the region of Latin America to have their voice again. Yeah. Nothing good has happened in Venezuela since Hugo Chavez.
No, and the Venezuelans would agree with this mission. And if this isn't a deterrent, I don't know what is. I mean, blowing boats out of the water that are filled with drugs coming into the United States is the only way, quite frankly, because they've been warned for decades and nothing's been done about it to stop the drugs from flowing in. But it has to go beyond the boats. So what is next? I mean, putting pressure on Maduro, fine. He loves to threaten back. It's not like they have any kind of military assembly whatsoever to actually go to war with the United States. But Colombia needs to be held. Petro needs to be held accountable as well. So where does this go next? Because this is, it seems like the first of several steps, as Pete Hegseth has described.
Oh, yes. No, the noose is tightening, and it's not, Maduro is not the primary target. It's the narco cartels. And then I guess a third target is to get the Chinese, the Russians, the Iranians out of our hemisphere, who have no goodwill for us by their presence here in the region. So going after the drug boats, step one, that is actually starting to hurt the bottom line of the cartels that provide the money and the resources that allow Maduro to stay in power. The second is going after the illicit petroleum industry. Now, this is bigger than Venezuela. It's actually a global issue. And I'd be looking around to see where else you see these dark fleet tankers getting seized and taken. There was one in the Indian Ocean a couple weeks ago that was delivering from China sanctioned missile parts as Iran tries to rebuild its missile inventory. But this tanker, there's another tanker right now that's got my attention. That's Bella 1 that has tight connections to China that has basically been let go, at least for now. Without any Venezuelan oil on board. But that oil is 70% or more of the GDP of Venezuelan's government and their economy. So going after that illegal trafficking in oil will hurt their bottom line. It also hurts the Russians' bottom line, and it certainly is going to make it harder for the Chinese to get a cheap oil on the open market, or at least the black market. So all of this actually dries up a nexus of terror and a nexus of malign influence throughout Latin America by applying these pressures on the drug cartels and their boats, their small running boats, and the tankers at a larger scale. And I think that's all that needs to be done. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I love that you brought up China, because that was another promise kept by President Trump, that he would be tough on China, something that we have not seen in the past presidents.
Yes.
Anyway, Brent Sadler, thank you for coming on today. Merry Christmas.
Absolutely. From Hawaii, Mele Kalikimaka.
Oh, I'm so jealous. Thank you so much, and enjoy it there. I would love to be there.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.